When you bang on about self-charging hybrids for 20 plus years, your first foray into battery electric vehicles is going to get a bit of interest. And this is it, the Toyota BZ4X, which is a kind of strange name. Let's be honest about it. Could they just not have called it, I don't know, I'm not in that area of work, but just something that doesn't sound like a part number, which I heard someone describe it as. This is Toyota's first mass-produced battery electric vehicle. It promises lots, and some of those things it delivers, others it falls a little bit short, and I'm going to cover all those bits in today's video. So come along for the ride today here with the Toyota BZ4X on Nobby on Cars. Welcome. Battery capacity is 71.4 kilowatt hours or 64 usable. There's quite a difference there. And that's part of the story, because this car promises a range of over 500 kilometers. And I really don't think you're going to be able to achieve that. And here's why. Toyota have the best warranty of any EV on the market right now. They will cover certain battery parts of this car for over 1 million kilometers. It's limited to about 10 years. But then if you service the car at a Toyota dealership, they'll constantly renew your warranty for a further 12 months. And even the standard warranty on the car, it far exceeds most other brands. But here's why. They've put such a buffer between what you can actually drill into on that battery capacity to preserve the life of the battery. And that is compromising the efficiency of it and certainly the range of it, just in order to preserve that really great warranty. And it's a strange way of doing things, in my opinion, because this car should be able to go so much further. I'll come back to a bit more of that later on in the video, but just wanted to touch on it. Front of the car is quite nose prevalent. It sweeps out almost the top coming out further than the bottom part of the bumper. You have these fairly sleek lights. There's nothing too remarkable about it. There's not a great selection of colours. There's lots of silvers and greys. You can get a bi-tone different coloured roof if you go for certain trim specs, but they're much higher up the food chain. There is a red that really actually works quite well because it just needs a brighter colour. A little bit of a side curtain going on just for aerodynamic qualities. These black plastic bits again, some people may like them, some people may not be too sure. They certainly give a rugged look to the car, but they're very noticeable, especially if you get it in white. You've got a bit more plastic down here. It's not a small car. In fact, it is one of the best cars Toyota have ever made in terms of rear legroom, in my opinion. You've got a fairly sizable roof spoiler on the back. The back is possibly part of the best looking part of the car, really, because you've got this illuminated red strip once your headlights are on that comes on all day long. And the light features are very nice. There's certainly a bit of the MG4 going on in some quarters, but I like the back of the car overall. 452 litres is the boot space. Flexible parcel cover, easy to clip into place, sits there nicely. It is quite a bit smaller though than the Ioniq 5 and the Volkswagen ID4. The space below the boot floor then for your Type 2 charging cable, which is handy. BZ4X. It even looks complicated. Speaking of charging, it can do 150 kilowatt DC charging. It has an 11 kilowatt onboard charger. You should get to about 80% in about 45 minutes if you're charging it. Charging port is on the front left-hand side of the car. Again, some people will like that, some people won't. You can just drive into a charging space, particularly the tighter ones, the ESB ones, with the faster charger output, with the tighter, more rigid cable, you know, those ones. Sometimes it can be easier to get in and out if the charging port is on the front of the car. It's kind of nicely high up off the ground. Stepping into the vehicle, into the rear, you notice that. A lot of room for feet and knees and head height as well in the back of the BZ4X. That is one of the best parts of the car, to be honest with you, because Toyota can traditionally be a little bit cramped in the back in many of their models. Not going to be the case in this car. Unlike the new CHR, you get pockets in the back of both seats. The door bins are good. 2 USB-C charging ports, air vents for rear passengers. You also have an armrest that's at a good angle. No access to the rear, and this car hasn't got a glass roof, so it is quite dark. Again, it's kind of a tradition of Toyotas to be dark in the back. Not a whole heap to complain about up front in the BZ4X either, apart from, and I've kind of said it before, this steering wheel. I just don't get it. It's such a use of space. It could be so much more elegant to look at. Like, you're going to spend a lot of time looking at that thing when you're behind the wheel of this. Kind of a heads up thing going on here. It's also in the new Prius. It's in the Solterra, which this car is an alliance with Subaru on. And it's crisp and it's clear and it's helpful because you don't really need to take your eyes off the road to ever look at it, which is very good. Something that's very interesting in this car, there's no sensor keeping an eye on you. So it doesn't really beep and bong at all. And that is really fantastic and really welcome. Huge big screen giving you all the displays, charging schedule, should you want to charge at a less expensive rate at night time. Just the push down gear shifter, physical buttons in a sense, because they never leave the screen here. You never have to go looking for them. There's still some temperature control buttons, and there is a volume set of buttons for up and down. So the main things you're going to want are within easy reach. Wireless charging pad goes down here, works very well. There's USB-C charging down below with kind of a shelf where you can chuck your cables and hide them. Then under here you have generous drinks holders, more space in an armrest under here, and the seats are comfortable. I can't complain. Main issue, that steering wheel, not a fan. I've kind of covered that. And again, it's all very black, but there's not a squeak or a rattle or anything going on in this car. I know it's not a particularly old car, whatever, it's only got 5,000 kilometers on it, but you would pick up things at this stage. Also on this, which I really like, you got automatic heated seats, so if the temperature inside is cold enough, it will just put the seat on for you. It's now possible to get wireless CarPlay in Toyotas. Took a while, but we got there in the end. So that works beautifully with your phone. I don't have any issues with it connecting, no audio dropouts. Solid from my use of it this week. One thing that's for sure in the BZ4X is safety is a priority. So you get a lot of safety stuff, a standard frontal collision avoidance, good rear view camera for helping judge situations. It can spot pedestrians and cyclists. Rear visibility is actually pretty good. Again, some Toyotas, because of more, I suppose, design cues, the rear windscreen sometimes isn't the biggest or sometimes isn't that perfect angle. It is noticeable on this car, however, that there's no blind spot, so you probably have to go a little bit higher up the trims should you want all the extra safety features. But generally, it's coming well equipped. If you'd like to turn on, I suppose, what you call one pedal driving, there is a button down here. You flick that and you get a green light signifying that you switch that feature on. And in case you're not aware by now, that essentially means as soon as you lift your foot off the accelerator, it doesn't use your foot to brake the car, but it uses resistance, which is friction free essentially, reduces wear on pads, less brake dust, and it means you can be extra lazy and not have to worry about the middle pedal. Generally speaking, driving this car this week, it has been around 19 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. We're filming this in November. It's 10 degrees. It's kind of been like that all week. Some people have remarked that they're regularly achieving 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Certainly more efficient than the all-wheel drive version of this and the Solterra, which we had on the channel a little while ago. It's a reasonably elevated seating position. You're not on the ground, you're not extremely high, it's not as high as a crossover, but it's still a position where you can kind of look down and, you know, have a good level of visibility. You can't really see the bonnet, however, from this seating position anyway. Batteries in the car are low down, so there's quite a good sense of handling in the car. Low center of gravity aided by the placement of batteries. And yeah, it actually handles reasonably well. Generally Toyotas do, and it's good to see they haven't let that slip with a heavier battery based vehicle. Steering is light, set up perfectly for city centre driving environments especially. Tyre noise, which I'm noticing more and more on EVs these days, not bad at lower speeds, higher motorway speeds, does intrude into the cabin a little bit, depending on brand of tyre. That is always a subjective thing as well. And the ride is comfortable. No great thuds as you go over potholes, imperfections in the road, large enough alloys, but there's plenty of profile on these tyres, so it's actually generally a very, very comfortable ride. Again, no complaints there. If you are doing a lot of motorway driving, you'll be pleased to know that you have radar cruise that keeps up with the car in front in terms of speed. You've got lane tracing and lane keep assist. Again, not overly intrusive. A lot of the driving aids in this car, Toyota have got really, really spot on in my opinion. And it's a very smooth drive. I can see why taxi drivers are starting to choose these as their weapon of choice for earning a crust, because as long as you're not doing high speeds, which generally speaking in a taxi maybe you're not because you're doing a lot of city centre pickups, you know, the range will be okay for that. Good size in the back especially. And yeah, if you were sitting behind the wheel of this 8, 10, 12 hours a day, there's worse place to sit from a comfort point of view. But you are still, there's another BZ4X. That's a navy, actually looks a lot nicer navy. You're just looking at that steering wheel all day. That's the only thing, a face that only a mother could love. To help with that efficiency and range, and it's a good thing it has a heat pump on the car which uses a different source for cabin heating and stuff when it's cold, which doesn't, in theory, drain the battery as much as it would in a vehicle without a heat pump. Advanced, Sport and Premier Edition are the three trims that you can get. The car starts from over 50,000 euro, just a tiny bit over 50,000 euro. Again, it's not cheap, but again, it's not on its own in that territory. It doesn't have a rear wiper, which is annoying. There was a campaign about bringing back knobs and getting rid of screens, and I feel like that's maybe making some inroads. Next campaign is rear wipers. Put them back on cars. It rains in Ireland. You can't see at the back. It makes no sense. 204 brake horsepower is the standard performance in the car. There is a dual-motored all-wheel drive. You get 14 extra brake horsepower for that privilege. But you do get a mode, thanks to Subaru, that allows the car to kind of stay with grip in mud, kind of slippy traction conditions. So I think most people are just going to go for the standard range. It really wouldn't make sense, and you're going to talk about a massive increase in price. I have spoken to taxi drivers on social media who are driving these as a living, and they're getting 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, no problem. So I wouldn't just go on my figures today. This is a test car. A lot of people are driving it. It's kind of a better estimate, I suppose, from someone who's driving these things all day long, and as I said, for a living. So what do you think of the BZ4X from Toyota? You're getting that famous reliability, the fact that the general consensus is Toyotas will go on forever. Is it the best looking car in the market? No. Has it got the nicest interior in the market? No. But if you're using it particularly as a city EV, it's very comfortable. It's comfortably passenger in. It drives well. And if you're not relying on the need to drive 500 kilometers in one journey, then it will do the job just about fine. Just do me a favor, get a bright color. It needs it, and it will thank you for it. Thank you for coming with me this far in the video. If you think we've helped, maybe we've earned your subscription today, you might consider subscribing to the channel, and there's ways to financially support us from €2 a month on Patreon, and the link's down below. Thanks for watching, see you on the next one.